Have you ever been watching a business video on YouTube and at the end of it you just get sold something and it's kind of annoying, right? Well, I used to have that all the time. Back when I had my 9 to 5, I really wanted to quit and just make money with my business so I can become financially free, take care of my family. And I wish that I was a Muslim who could just show me step by step, making sure everything was halal, what I had to do to achieve that goal. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Fedi, Lecamus, if you don't know who I am. I've currently got a coaching business that's making around 35k per month. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. And what I want to show you in this video, what I've already done, right, is I want to show you the 4-step framework that I've used to scale to 35k per month, what I'm currently doing with 150 plus Muslim entrepreneurs to get them to 10k per month and beyond. So if your goal is to retire your mum, take care of yourself and your family, and be able to do hijrah if you're living in the West, right? This video is for you. It's not heavy edited. I'm just going to get straight to the point. I'm going to give you all the knowledge and tools that you need. So let's jump in. So the first step of the framework, and you might be surprised that this is the first step, but it's traffic. And in traffic, there are 3 things I care most about. Where are people at? What are they doing there? Right? So for example, if they're on Instagram, what are they doing on Instagram? And how can I grab their attention? Okay, that for me is the main thing. These are the 3 questions I like to ask myself. And I always like to keep really simple questions so I can get an in-depth understanding of things. So the first thing when it comes to traffic is where. Where are these people? Let's say I wanted to sell miswaks. What would be the point in me going to sell miswaks and thinking to myself, well, look, I need to sell to Muslims. I like them to be business owners. I like them to be people who care about the sunnah. It's like, cool. I can stress about who my persona is. I can stress about who I want to sell to, who my ideal client would be, or I can just rock up at a masjid and then probably just sell a bunch of people there, right? And then I'm chilling. Like I didn't have to go through all the pain. I've just figured out where they are. Where are my dream clients hanging out? Where are they congregating? Okay. And when I figure out where they're congregating, I can figure out what they're doing there. By figuring out what they're doing there, I can understand, is there buyer intent or not? Okay. So for example, like a big reason I tell everybody to never post on TikTok is just because nobody, right, primarily has buyer intent on TikTok when it comes to high ticket stuff. Like 99% of people, they're on TikTok. Maybe they'll go on TikTok shop. They'll buy some things on e-commerce, whatever. I don't care about e-commerce or dropshipping or anything like that. Obviously, if you're watching this, you're probably agency owner, right, Muslim coach, etc. If you want to be on a platform, you want to be where there's buyer intent. If you're somewhere where there's no buyer intent, you're going to really struggle, and I mean really struggle, to convert later on. So understanding what is the reason that they're there, right, especially specifically looking at buyer intent, it gives you 2 choices. Choice number 1 is, this is perfect, and you stay in that platform. Or choice number 2 is, how do I optimize to attract buyers? Okay. So for example, if you're going to the masjid at Fajr prayer time, you're probably going to find the people that would love to have a miswak because they're there for Fajr, right? They're probably going to have deeper intentions in regard to sticking to the sunnah. But if you're there for Jum'ah, sure, you're going to have more foot traffic. You're going to have loads more people. So numbers wise, it's going to be a lot higher. But the most important thing is that you might not have that high buyer intent. Okay, so the how kind of leads to the next part of this, which how am I going to explain to 2 things, is how in regards to quantity. How many people can I get? Okay, and how can I get their attention? So the first one in regard to quantity is, again, let's say you're at the masjid, you're going to sell miswak, or I will use another example. Let's say you're on YouTube, okay, and you want to sell productivity coaching. People on YouTube who watch productivity videos, if they're watching specifically videos on productivity, there is probably a buyer intent. They're probably wanting to, get better productivity and therefore potentially buy coaching from somebody who's going to help them in productivity. But if what they're doing on YouTube is watching Mr. Beast, so you decide to make Mr. Beast content, there's a no-go there, right? You're not going to bring anybody with buyer intent. So it goes back kind of to the what. So in terms of the quantity, is having enough foot traffic of quality, right? So this is where outreach comes in for me specifically that I love, because in outreach, I can pick a platform where people already are. Where are businesses? Businesses might be on LinkedIn, businesses might be on Instagram, businesses might be on their emails, they might be cold calling. Well, they won't be cold calling, but they definitely have a phone, so I can cold call them. Okay, with buyer intent, I can decide what they're going to want, right? I can decide their buyer intent by them having newly started a business. Let's say I'm working with dentists and I want to work with dentists who already have a private practice. Well, they already have a buyer intent by being a perfect match, right? And then when it comes to the quantity and the quality, I can just control that by calling more people and making sure that the quality-wise, they fit into the buyer intent, right? So how is looking at the quantity, how many people can I bring, and are these the right kind of people? And then when it comes to attention, and this is the first thing when it comes to traffic, is how can I stand out? So I'm going to go a little bit deeper into this because I think it's really important to figure this out. For me, having you stand out is just from you understanding what is already there. You don't have to stress about trying to create something new. You kind of just look at, okay, let's say everybody loves squares that have lines inside of them. Well, if I want to stand out, why don't I just have a square with no lines inside? Why don't I have a square with dots inside? Now, I know this is a really random answer, like really random example, but the way you look at it is people who are fed up of looking at this, people who are fed up of this, they'll be attracted to these two things right here, right? Because it's different, because it's new. What you want to do when standing out, when grabbing the attention, is try and do something new. When it comes to outreach, people mention personalization, but do you actually personalize? You actually put, hey name, right? Hey John or something in a video of you speaking to them. If you do, that is going to be you standing out because it's incredibly personalized. If you end up standing out by doing more research, if you end up standing out by hooking them in with something that they've never heard before, if you end up standing out by creating yourself as an authority, then what you end up having is yourself away from the crowd and therefore being able to magnetically pull your prospects towards you. So in terms of traffic, these are the three things you want to prioritize. Understand where are your prospects at, what are they doing in those locations, and this means, okay, cool, my prospects watch TikTok, but are they on TikTok to buy things? Probably not, so scrap TikTok. How am I going to grab their attention? Okay, how am I going to grab their attention? How many times I'm going to reach out to them? How many times I'm going to be like, how many times can I kind of get their attention in the first place? And that will lead to the quality, and then when it comes to attention, you just stand out. There's one more thing I want to show you in regard to traffic, which I think is incredibly important. So the one more thing I want to mention in regard to traffic is these two principles of consistency and understanding. And the reason I say this is because what we do with consistency, the whole point of consistency, by the way, isn't just for you to feel good about yourself in general. The business requires consistency from you so the business can collect data, right? Data to figure out what works, what doesn't work. If you post 100 pieces of content, you're going to understand a lot better what works in terms of content, even if you just find 2 things that work, than if you only posted 2. You've just more data, right? You've been more consistent, you've got more data. And with that data, you go on to understanding. Okay, I understand what works, what doesn't work. There'll be certain words in your outreach that don't resonate with your market. And you need to be consistent in collecting that data and understanding based on the metrics that you have, the percentages of people that you've booked in, the percentage of people that you've closed, right? How many outreaches have I done to get this percentage, etc., etc. Then what you end up finding is that you now understand your niche a lot better because of the data, because you know what works and what doesn't work. So for me, traffic kind of relies on these two principles. Everything I showed you before this, if you're not consistent with what you're doing, if you don't try and understand what your kind of customers want in the first place, you're not going to succeed with traffic at all. So this is a kind of one last thing in regard to traffic, which is kind of like a mindset shift I want to give you, which is that if you're not making as much money as you want to make, right, to go from, I don't know, based on what Hormozi said, to go from 0 to 100K per month, you're probably solving a traffic problem. Meaning, not enough people know who you are, not enough people know that you have something to sell them. That's it. So once you figure out the traffic problem, most people build the business backwards, right? Most people end up building the business in a way where it's like, cool, I've got my offer, I've got my niche, I've got all this stuff, but now where do I get the traffic? And they end up feeling disheartened because they didn't realize that this is the hardest thing to do. Creating your offer is really easy. It's really, really easy. Hundreds of people have videos on offers. Like the offer is just solving a problem and making the solution as painless as possible. But if you don't have people who know who you are, and if not enough people know who you are, you're not going to make money. You just aren't. So traffic is solving that problem to take you to $1 million, which is you understanding, okay, cool. Now I know that 100 people saw my offer. Only one of them bought. I got data now. Maybe I need to tweak a few things, okay? So when it comes to conversion, we're going to be optimizing a lot more in regard to the offer. So I might have mentioned offer. If you don't know what an offer is what you're selling, okay? Then we're going to figure out who we're selling to specifically. Then most importantly, in my opinion, we're going to figure out the funnel to get them to buy. Okay, so these are the 3 things. So in regard to what you're selling, I kind of mentioned it earlier. You're solving a painful problem with a painless solution. That's it. Maybe you need to do research about what problems you want to solve and for who you want to solve them for, okay? And what solution can you give that is painless? I always like to give the analogy of me having knee problems and shoulder problems and headaches, and you giving me this 6-month regimen where I have to only eat Brussels sprouts, I have to sleep for 12 hours a night, I have to do a bunch of physiotherapy, I have to go to massages every single day, I have to go swimming every day, I have to spend an hour in the sauna, yada, 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 yada. Like, dude, that is too much effort for me just having like knee pain and back pain and shoulder pain and a headache. But if you just gave me a tiny little pill that in 5 minutes would get rid of all my pain, guess what I'm going to pay for? The pill. Guess what I'm going to value more in terms of what you're selling? The pill. So, painful problem with a painless solution. In regard to who, Dan Kennedy mentions two main things. You want them to have money and you want them to have value. So, you want them to be driven by value rather than price. So, when somebody has money in general, they're going to be more driven by value. But people who are just driven by price, which by the way is a big problem we have in the Ummah, so many people are attached to money. So many people. You'd think we're Jewish, honestly. The amount of times I spoke to people that care more about money than their time, they care more about money than the value they'd get, it's crazy. But anyways, you want to have people who value your solution, right? They see it as something that they want and they need, and they have the money to solve their problem. That's it. It's that simple in terms of your who. You don't have to overthink it. It's that simple. Now, when it comes to your funnel, so this is something I like to, I've got loads of videos on this, so you can go ahead and watch them. But the way I like to look at it is really simple. You've got a 2-step funnel, right? So you've got step number 1, which is you being more proactive and outreaching to people. You've got a little video asking permission for you to send them a pitch. Then you've got the video with the pitch itself, which shows them your offer, what you're selling, okay? Then you've got them booking a time into your calendar, and then obviously in your calendar, you're going to sell them on a sales call. And this sales call is a 1 call close, right? Don't try and have 2 call closes, 3 call closes, just get good at sales. Get good at sales so you can close somebody in 1 call. On the other end of the funnel, what you're going to be doing at the exact same time as this is, number 1, finding your voice, which means posting content every single day for a year, just to find your voice, just document your journey, right? And that leads to number 2, which is you documenting your journey. And specifically, you're not going to be documenting, I woke up at 6 a.m. today and I prayed because I'm a Muslim, and right? You're not going to do that, you idiot. What you're going to focus on is solving the problem. You're going to focus on how you're building your solution. You're going to share how you're building your solution, what problems you're solving for your niche. You're going to document the process of you building your offer, like literally showing your offer and how it works. Then last but not least on this, you're going to have absolute certainty, right? So with absolute certainty, you're going to have a lot more conviction in your sales calls. With absolute certainty, because of your documentation, your outreaches are going to do better, people are going to be resonating more with your offer, and you're going to get more booked meetings in the first place. So it's incredibly important for you to follow this kind of funnel, because this is what works. I cannot stress this enough. It's what works. I learned it the hard way, right? I got a video on my YouTube for my dental practice, not my practice stuff, but my dental agency. It got 20 views. That 20 views got me 1 client. Why? Because I did this. I had the video live, right? I outreached to the person beforehand. They didn't even reply to me. They completely ignored me. But once they saw my video of me doing these 3 steps, they ended up booking a meeting and buying from me. So these work together amazingly. You have to do it. It's called the push-pull method. That's why I call it. So now we've got conversion. We're going to look at pricing. I want to keep pricing really simple because you can basically charge however much you want and keep a straight face. As long as you can keep a straight face, and if you were to tell your mum, yep, mum, this is how much I charge, and you would say with full conviction, then you've got a good price. But most of you, right, especially beginners, are kind of scared to charge more money because they sell out of their own wallets. So when it comes to pricing, there's 2 things I need to focus on. I need to focus on your prospect's wallet, not yours, right? So the prospect's wallet. And secondly, I need to think about value. So in terms of your prospect's wallet, remember we spoke about the who, about them having money. You want to sell for them. If they have $1 million in their bank account, you are not being pious by selling them something that's $100. You are never, ever, ever, and I want you to promise me this in the video right this second, right? Because you're a service provider. You're either a coach, you're a Muslim agency owner. Like you're gonna be building high-ticket businesses, right? You are not going to charge less than $500. Whether it's to work with you for a month, 3 months, a year, I don't care how long it is, you're not going to charge less than $500. What I want you to do next in regards to your prospect's wallet is keep increasing the price based on your demand and your low supply. So if you can only work with 2 people, but 5 people want to work with you, increase your price. So you can find out of those 5 people who wants to work with you the most. So you might end up charging 5K, 20K, whatever it was, like however much it ends up being. So you always sell out of your prospect's wallet, not your own. If you think $10,000 is a lot, that's a you problem, not your prospect's problem. That doesn't mean you don't have to charge $10,000, right? Charge $10,000 because your prospect can afford it. even if you can't. Now, in regard to value, the really important thing to understand in regard to this is it goes back to like the what, okay? If you are going to solve a bigger problem, right, and the solution is going to be really easy, then I want you to charge however much you want to charge. Not that you're comfortable with, but however much you want to charge. If you are wanting to charge $20,000 for something, charge $20,000. Because then, based on this number right here, people are going to assume it solves a big problem, and they're going to assume the solution is easy. So you've built like an inverse value equation, right? You've built like an inverse thing, which is your price is going to show your value. Before you're even able to tell them about how easy it is and how big the problem that you solve is, based on your price, people are going to decide whether or not it's valuable. So you want to keep increasing your price. You want to even ask for a ridiculous price. As long as you can keep a straight face, as Dan Kennedy said, I'll always charge the price that I can like give without breaking a smile, right? Without smiling by accident. So now when it comes to the last thing, when it comes to retention, the main principle with retention, so this is keeping your clients for as long as you want to have them, is giving them wins. Now this might sound obvious, right? But it's giving them wins and giving them progression with you. Let's say you promise your client that you're going to get them 10 clients, okay? Or let's say you're going to help them work only 4-hour days and still be productive and achieve loads in their business. Let's say you're going to help them, I don't know, run 100 meters faster, whatever, that's just a random example, right? Let's say they achieve each of these things. You've helped your prospect get 10 clients, maybe somebody else, you've helped them get 4 hours of work done a day and they're able to grow their business by loads, and this person you've able to help them run 100 meters and they've lost loads of weight, okay? Now you've helped them solve the problem, what do? They're just going to leave you. Maybe you had a 3-month contract to help them do this and you help them achieve it, they're going to leave you. What you want to have is similar to Russell Brunson's value ladder, which if you don't know what that is, that's fine, you don't have to, but it's a progression, right? It's you helping your prospects with the next thing. Oh yeah, so we got you 10 clients. Now it's time for you to start building your team. We're going to help you build an outbound team so you can continue scaling. Oh yeah, so now we've done the 4 hours of work. Guess what? We're going to automate even more things, so you only do 2 hours of work. Oh, now you run 100 meters. This one's really obvious, that's why I picked it. Now we're going to help you run a kilometer. So for you to keep your clients longer, for you to help them in better ways as well, is you just keep ascending them. You keep helping them with the next problem that they get. Because this is the thing about most business models, is by you solving a problem, you end up creating one as well. And then you solve that problem, and then when you solve that problem, you create another one. Then you solve that problem, then you create another one, etc., etc. And it keeps repeating. And that's normal. That's normal. So by getting them 10 clients, maybe you find that they're not able to deliver the service. So you help them with like systemizing some things in their service delivery, etc. When you help them work 4 hours, maybe they have too much time and now they're bored. So you have to help them get more in tune with their business in other ways. Now they've run 100 meters, maybe they have a problem with their knee injury. They got injured with their knee, so maybe you help them with that. But you can either help them ascend and help them do more of what they're currently doing, which is one way, or you can realize that you can solve the problems that you've created by helping them win these things. Because life isn't just solution, solution, solution. Obviously, there's going to be problems along the way. Okay, I know this is really simple, but this is literally the 4-step process that you want to go through in regards to, like, this is principles. This isn't tactics. And like I said, I'm not trying to sell you something at the end of this to be like, oh, and by the way, if you like this, now you can go buy my course here, blah, 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 blah. I wanted to give you the principles. This is the 4-step process for you to make money. You first get traffic, okay? Because that traffic, the people, they're going to tell you exactly what they want. So you end up creating something to convert them into paying customers, right? You get traffic, you convert it. Then you decide your pricing and how much you want to charge. From that pricing, you try and retain the people as long as possible, right? You fix your retention so you can keep them and help them more. That is business in 4 steps. This is what a business is. So, you're welcome. Allah mabarak. Well done for watching the video. Like I told you, no fancy editing, nothing like that. So Allah mabarak, well done for actually watching the video until the very end. I know you're committed to helping the Muslim Ummah become great again. So if you enjoy this video, I don't know, there's probably going to be a couple things actually. So if you want me to go deeper about these 4 things in regard to the traffic, how you're going to convert it, the pricing you can use, and the retention, specifically if you're a Muslim coach already and you've got a business running, or you're a Muslim agency owner, you want to understand exactly how I've done it myself, then I'm going to put this video about how I made 50K in less than 3 months. So go ahead and watch it. It's going to give you the exact blueprint. It's a very long video. Enjoy.